welcome back to our channel Trailhead Ranger NJ. And in this series of preparation for OmniStudio Developer certification, today we will be targeting this module, that is OmniStudio Developer Tools. And we will be talking about data packs and Salesforce metadata, that how we can migrate it between two environments or so. So let's get started with the first unit, that is get to know OmniStudio Developer Tools. So what tools we do have? We do have two tools, that is IDX Workbench and IDX Build tool. So IDX Workbench is a desktop application which helps developer to migrate OmniStudio DataPacks and Salesforce metadata from one environment to another, or from one org to another, or from org to a Git repository. And if we talk about IDX Build tool, is a command line tool such as VS Code also we use, and it does everything which IDX Workbench does, but it is without any UI. And it also helps us in using automation in environment like Jenkins, and may prefer command line tools as they are more configurable than UI based application. And what are the advantages of this? It migrate faster, it helps us to preserve data dependency. In case if we want to migrate an OmniScript which requires a data raptor, then the data raptor is also migrated along with the OmniScript. We do not have to select it all over again, and it is more easily configurable, and it supports data validation as well. So how we can export OmniStudio data packs? So if we open any flex card, there is a export button in our UI interface only of our org. We can export it using that, and we can import data packs as well. Let's come to the quiz. First question is, what is the tool developer use to manage and move OmniStudio components changes between environments? So IDX Workbench is the correct answer. Second question is, in OmniStudio you migrate metadata using which functionality? OmniScripts, data packs, flex cards, or data raptors. So flex card is the correct answer. Let's check. So yes, let's move on to the next unit, that is explore IDX Workbench. So we will be talking more about IDX Workbench in this. We have already talked that it helps us to migrate data from one org to another org or to Git repo. So this is more about it, that we can migrate data from one Salesforce org to another, from Salesforce org to a Git repository, or from a Git repository to a Salesforce org, and from OmniStudio process library to a Salesforce org as well. And if we have a JSON file, then we can import it in the Salesforce org, and similarly into a Git repository as well. And that's how migration dashboard looks like in IDX Workbench. Migration will be selected by default, and if you want to edit it, we can edit it using this icon. And then we can configure workspace, that what kind of repository we want to transfer, and from which source to which target, what is our destination, which project we are selecting, that's kind of thing we can select. And in this dashboard we have three things, that is process profiler, version compare, and test console. So as name suggests, test console is simpler, that we can run test procedures and analyze the result. Version compare, we can compare any two version and find the changes, that what changes we are migrating in second version which was not present in first, or vice versa. And if we talk about process profiler, it reviews the profile performance and view runtime details for an OmniScript or an integration procedure in a source or target org. So we can configure it using this, and yes, we can validate it as well. Let's move on to the quiz. First question is, which IDX Workbench dashboard do you use to profile performance and view execution details for an OmniScript or an integration procedure in a source org? So process profiler. Second question is, where do you configure the source and target org for data migration in IDX Workbench? So it's a configure workspace. Let's check. So yes, we are done with this quiz. Let's move on to the next unit. That is create a project with OmniStudio Project Explorer. So if we want to create a project with OmniStudio Project Explorer, we need to download its extension from Chrome Web Store, and then we can pin it, and then in the extensions we can log in using auth and reload the data. And then we need to create a project. In the project configuration, we can click on new project, and then give the name, optionally a description as well, and we can save it. And then we can select that project, and we can remove it or add it. So if you want to explore it more, please download the extension from your Chrome web store, and you can play it around in that. And if you want to migrate a project in IDX Workbench, then we can click on that load projects from more source if we do have it from third party or any other source. And then we can select our newly created project which we have created in the project explorer of that extension, and then we can migrate it. Let's come to the quiz. First question is true or false. To use OmniStudio Project Explorer, you must log in to initialize its communication with your org. Yes. Second question is, where do you find all the active projects in the source org from IDX Workbench? And the source drop-down list in the configure workspace under the IDX settings in the project drop-down list. I guess C should be the correct answer. Let's check. Yes, it's the correct one. Let's move on to the next unit, that is discover more IDX Workbench dashboards. So we have already talked about its process profiler, version compare and test console. And let's see if we have anything more new in this. Otherwise we'll directly target the quiz. Let's target it. First question is, what must you do before viewing execution details of an OmniScript or integration procedure using process profiler? Okay, first option is enable tracking for the OmniStudio components in your org. Second, migrate data before viewing performance. Third, update the configuration details in the process profiler. So first option should be the correct answer. Let's see. Second is the version compare dashboard in IDX Workbench lets you compare two versions of an OmniScript or integration procedure in two different orgs. So no, it only lets us compare from one org. Let's check. So we are done with this quiz. Let's move on to the last unit of this module, that is meet IDX build tool. So we talked about IDX Workbench, and then there is IDX build tool, which is more of command line interface. And we need to install as you can follow these steps if you want to install it using node npm, and then you can do all of this. We to define the project location and the various setting required to export and deploy data packs. Okay, so it contains project path and queries. Project path specifies the folder that contain your project. It can be the absolute path to a folder or the relative path. And the queries is a part of Salesforce SQL that returns the IDs of the record you want to export. Okay, and then key based export, IDX tool command, spec export. We can retrieve all velocity metadata from an org in velocity data packs. Okay, we can deploy all contents in the project path of the job file. Runs clean org data, runs a script to find and eliminate bad data in an org. It adds a global key to any standard object without one, and deletes stale data records that are missing data to clean it. Validate local data, finds and fixes issues in the local data file. Pack retry, restarts the job that was previously running. Pack get ifs and deploy, find all files that are different locally from the target org, and then deploys only the data packs that have changed or are new. Refresh product, rebuild folders for the data in the project path. Okay, so let's come to the quiz now. Job file, the folder that should contain your project and queries. So A and B should be the correct answer. Second option is, which build tool command do you use to eliminate bad data in an org? So just now we have discussed it should be clean org data. Let's check. So yes, we are done with this module, that is OmniStudio Developer Tools in our this series of preparation for OmniStudio Developer certification. And after that we do have few links and one or two modules to go through. So we'll target this module in our next video, but let's check. It has some documentation, that is business rules engine documentation. If you want, you can go through it by opening that link, and they'll be talking more in detail about business rules engine, how shall we use it, and where we can use it, and some of its rules. So it is navigating us to the help article. So mostly it is talking about what we just discussed in the unit only, so I'll mark this as complete for me. Then OmniStudio documentation, let's check. It should also be talking about data raptors and so, which we have already discussed. So yes, FlexCard, OmniScript, data raptors, IDX workbench, IDX build tool. So all of that we have already discussed, we can mark it as complete as well. Then OmniStudio for velocity documentation. So some of it naming convention, then description, related information. If you want, you can go through it and get more details. I have already gone through it, so I have known about it. I'll mark it as complete for me. Please do let me know if you have any other questions in the comment section, and if you have any other video you want me to make, any video on any module, super badge or anything, please let me know. We'll target this module in our next video, so stay tuned. Thank you.